Hey golfers, I want to take a second and talk about a swing that was sent to me for an online lesson. At first glance, you're going to notice this player appears to come what a lot of people would call over the top. So if we put a little circle on his hands about halfway back and then put another circle on his hands when he starts down, you can see that those hands move a little bit more out towards the golf ball. And whether you would decide to fix that or not in a lesson is really not the point of this video. What I want people to understand is the movement or the tracking of the path of the hands is actually largely influenced by other variables that are happening in the swing. So if we were to take a look at the face-on view, what I would first want you to pay attention to is the player's pelvis movement. So if we look at the bottom part of the screen here and we watch how his right hip moves in relation to that line, you can see that the right hip moves directly away from that line and more towards the target in the early stages of the takeaway. So at this point, the pelvis is moving towards the target and it's also rotating quite a bit. Well, anytime I see rotation with the pelvis in the backswing, typically the hands are going to be more influenced behind the player. And so this is evident here as he turns that hip away from that line. You can see the hands move quite deep into the backswing. Additionally, the more I see a player's pelvis move this direction or toward the target, the more the hands want to be, again, influenced inside or behind the player. Now, the opposite could also be said. The more the player rotates the hips open, or the more the player slides the hip into that line, the more the hands are going to want to work upwards or maybe over the top, as some people might call it. Now, as we play, this is a really unique pelvis movement here. You're going to see, again, those hands are very much behind him at this point. But he's about done rotating his pelvis, and he's for sure done moving it toward the target. So you're going to see this player late slide his right hip back into that line. And so as this is happening, you're going to notice about right here is the furthest behind him his hands are going to get. As he starts sliding the pelvis away from him, that's when the arms more or less start to elevate. And now as his right hip again gets all the way back to that line, he's going to start his rotation with his pelvis now forward into the downswing. And so as he starts down, he starts spinning those hips. And this is what influences those hands to be a little bit more out or a little bit more over the top. And so whether you would fix the over the top or not is irrelevant. This player needs to learn how to move his pelvis a little bit better if he wants to get those hands to work on a more neutral path.